Antique furniture in Italy is distinguished by its uniqueness and regional characteristics, with tastes that sometimes vary even from city to city. Only in a particular period, namely the Empire era, did the international taste imposed by Napoleon reach certain parts of Italy, where furniture became very similar to, if not exactly, French furniture. These areas are mainly those where Napoleonic rule arrived through his own family members. Today, I will tell you about a striking example of this situation. In fact, in Tuscany, specifically in Lucca, there was a workshop of French cabinet makers, the Youf brothers. Good morning, I am Enrico Sala, fine art from Mano in Mano. The piece of furniture we're talking about today is precisely this mirror behind me. As you can see, this is not a wall mirror set in a carved or decorated frame, but rather a Psyche mirror, as the French would say, or a tilting mirror, as we say in Italian. That is, a frame with a mirror set into a pair of columns with pivots that allow it to move. The piece of furniture in question, as you can see, has a distinctly French taste of the French Empire style. There are these magnificent columns, the pediment placed above the columns, which acts as an entablature, and these sabre-shaped legs supporting the piece, with the typical little castors that allow the object to be moved around the room. Already in the neoclassical period, but especially at the beginning of the 19th century with the birth of Empire-style furniture, the furnishings inside homes began to change. Furniture started to move away from the walls. They were no longer just for show, but the rooms and sitting rooms became spaces for socializing, for real life, and so the furniture began to move away from the walls and become more central. This type of mirror is a typical example of this change in taste and furniture history. As I was saying, the piece is purely Empire style and distinctly French. Napoleon, in a way, imposed his taste and style throughout Europe. In Italy, the Empire style took hold mainly in those cities where Napoleon installed his closest relatives. Tuscany is one such example, because Elisa Bonaparte, wife of Bacciochi, was Napoleon Bonaparte's direct sister and even brought some French craftsmen to Tuscany, including the Youf brothers. Recent studies tell us that there were several brothers running the workshop in Florence, in Tuscany, and probably still in Paris as well. The inventories mention Sebastian and Jean-Baptiste. What happens when? With the fall of the empire, Maria Louisa of Bourbon was essentially installed in Lucca by decision of the Congress of Vienna, and she decided to completely renovate the apartments of the ducal palace. The renovation of these apartments was overseen and entrusted to the care of the architect Nottolini, and the workforce employed was extremely varied. But we know from the inventories and payment records that numerous pieces of furniture were commissioned from the Youf brothers' workshop: a desk, the Duchess's personal bed, and an important, very large cabinet which is still part of the collection. This is significant for us because it helps us to relocate this piece of furniture and also to date it accurately. In fact, that cabinet features a bronze ornament which is the same as the one we see here above, with Venus's chariot drawn by swans. As well as featuring all the construction methods that incorporate typical French techniques, such as the use of oak with mahogany veneer applied at 45-degree angles so that no joints are visible on an oak structure, and in some parts using gattis wood, since local, that is Tuscan woods, were also used, the bronzes, on the other hand, are of the highest quality. We know that the Youf brothers made use of the craftsmanship of Andrea Valadier, a member of the Valadier family, an important family of Roman silversmiths who moved to Lucca to serve Maria Louisa and who created these magnificent bronzes. The quality is extremely high, both in the chasing and in the gilding, with some parts polished and others matte. And the fact that there is a piece of furniture still in the Pitti collection, definitively and certainly by the Youf brothers, with the same bronzes that we find on this piece, clearly helps us not only to attribute this object, but also to date it. In fact, it is a mirror that can be imagined as dating to around the end of the second decade of the 1800s. While in Paris, the fall of Napoleon also brought about a very rapid change in stylistic taste, first with the Restoration, then Charles X and so on. In Italy, the rulers who returned to the seats they had abandoned during the Napoleonic era appreciated the taste for empire furniture, and so the production of these furnishings would persist for at least another 10 years. Having defined the object and the historical context as we have described, a few things need to be highlighted. The object we have looked at, this mirror, is definitely an important piece for a number of reasons. First, the materials. The mahogany is one of the finest types of mahogany veneer, and it was a wood that, at least in Italy, was rare. The quality of execution and construction is something that is seldom found in Italian workshops. In this case, in fact, the workshop is a French one, which employed highly skilled craftsmen. The other thing is the quality, the chiseling of these gilded bronzes, which are of a standard you'd expect from goldsmiths. They are made with a quality, finesse and elegance of design that are also extremely rare. And that is why, on the market, furniture of this workmanship and from this kind of workshop is rarely found.